Active studying can be a game changer when preparing for an exam. We often picture studying as poring over notes and books for hours and hours at a time, but that isn't necessarily the most effective or efficient way to study. What we just described is actually passive studying. It includes rereading notes and highlighting the textbook. It can lead to a sense of familiarity with what you're studying. However, that familiarity is easy to confuse with truly knowing the content. Passive studying does not mimic test-taking conditions and will not guarantee the information can be recalled during an exam. Active studying, on the other hand, includes doing practice problems and rewriting ideas in your own words. Active studying makes it much easier to tell if you truly know the material. Active studying more closely mimics the testing environment, allowing you to verify that you can recall information during the exam without needing to look at your notes. Let's talk about some useful active study strategies, including flashcards, concept maps, Venn diagrams, matrix tables, and practice problems. Flashcards are great for memorizing specific information like vocabulary, dates, and other bits of content. However, avoid putting too much information on a flashcard. For example, let's say you have a flashcard about the Wright brothers. When quizzing yourself, you remember they invented the first powered airplane and flew it in 1903. However, when you flip over the card, you see that you also need to remember their first names. You think to yourself, oh, I knew that, but the truth is you don't know that you would remember their names on an exam. With flashcards, limit each card to one question. In this example, you should have one flashcard to quiz you on the Wright brothers' names, one to ask what they invented, and another to ask the year of the first powered flight. Another flashcard tip, include pictures on your flashcards when relevant. For example, if you're learning a new language, pictures can give you a visual to associate with the vocab words. To get the most out of your flashcards, as mentioned, only include one question per card and include pictures when useful. Also make sure to say your answers out loud and to quiz yourself using both sides. For example, sometimes start with the word apple and try to remember the Spanish word. However, you should also try starting with manzana and try to either visualize what the word means or translate it into English. Finally, don't just rely on flashcards when studying, combine flashcards with other study techniques. Next, let's talk about concept maps, also called mind maps. Concept maps are great when you have a single topic that requires you to know a lot of information. In this example, you're taking a film studies class and have an exam that includes an essay question about the original Godzilla film. You know you're going to need to know the movie's themes, the special effects used, and the main cast in order to respond to the essay prompt. As you study, keep recreating the concept map, trying to do more and more from memory as you get closer to the exam. If you have two things you need to compare, Venn diagrams are extremely useful. A very simple example could be comparing apples to oranges. How are the two fruits distinct? What do they have in common? Use words and pictures in your Venn diagram as is useful. But what if you have several things you need to compare and contrast? Matrix tables can help you efficiently organize a large amount of information. In a microbiology class, you may need to know key characteristics of different pathogens, such as bacteria, protozoa, viruses, and fungi. You need to know what type of cell are they? How are infections treated? What are some examples of each pathogen? A matrix table can give you a visual and starting point as you quiz yourself. You can keep recreating this matrix table as you study until you can write it entirely from memory. Matrix tables help you make connections between the different content in your class without having to independently memorize a lot of separate details. Our last example of active studying is doing practice problems. The other strategies mentioned in this video are great for learning content. Practice problems are needed to learn problem-solving strategies and to apply memorized formulas. You can find practice problems in your textbook, practice tests, and by searching the internet for similar examples. Make sure to try practice problems without looking at your resources, especially as you get closer to your exam. Once you get stuck and have to use your notes or textbook, make note of what you haven't mastered so you can spend more time studying those problems. As you study for your exam, make sure you are revisiting unmastered problems and practicing them until you don't have to rely on your resources. Active study techniques are great tools because they allow you to engage with class material rather than passively rereading it. They force you to quiz yourself so that you truly know when you know the information. This helps you avoid falling into the trap of feeling familiar with the material but not actually knowing it. Looking for more academic success resources? Check out the NCSU Academic Success Center's website at go.ncsu.edu/ASC.